He said, goddamn. He said, all right. I said, let's do a podcast. Let's sit down. Let's get a coffee. Let's just talk about 1, 2, 3, 4. Coffee with the Sam. Got a little podcast. Grab yourself a little coffee and a podcast.
What's happening, guys? So welcome to the Coffee with Sam podcast. We are stimulated, we're getting weird. It's Wednesday and it's a very special episode because our first ever episode, I had this guest on and I have got him back. I don't know if you've noticed, we're wearing exactly the same jumper as that first ever episode, and we've now got a studio. You have one foot in the door. Rob still hasn't been to the studio, but I didn't even have a studio when we first started this podcast. I was in the garage with a black drape behind me on a computer desk. But Rob was actually, it's my idea, but Rob pushed me into doing the podcast. So I say not thank you to him because his head's big enough as it is. I don't want to say thank you to him, but he was one of the many people in the driving force for me to do this. He basically said, Sam, you love to chat shit to people all the time. Why not record it and put it on the internet? That's basically what everyone said to me. Go ahead, go and do it. So welcome in. If you're cheerleading following, we're going to call him Bear Drills. If you're not, we're going to call him Rob the Animal Horton. I don't know where the animal came from. I felt like I had to give you like a fighter name. We're going to welcome him.
I'll take it.
Welcome him in. So Rob, how has we started this podcast with the pandemic. This is where it happened. I invited you in to talk to me because I had nothing else to do. I hadn't even started another job then, and we were like, you know what? Why not? Let's just do something. Let's chat. It started cheerleading related. I've gone away from cheerleading now, but why not talk about cheer when we can talk about cheer? For you as a businessman, we'll keep it in cheer, but try and talk that you're talking to everybody, not just cheerleaders. So just give the people listening, if they haven't watched the first one, they should go back and watch or listen to the first one, but a brief overview of what you do outside of the pandemic. Who are you? What do you do?
Okay, no worries. So first of all, thank you for having me back on. Very pleased to be here. And congratulations on, well, we're over a year now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Over a year, and we're over, how many episodes are we on now?
50. This will be 51.
51. So,
well, 46,
incredible.
46 Coffee with Sam. And, yeah, 46 Coffee with Sam and 14 Threes a Party. This episode is sponsored by Wax and Relax. www.waxandrelaxxx.co.uk, guys. Okay, so 51 audio downloads, but only, I think I did other episodes on the YouTube, so there's more on the YouTube.
Okay.
The YouTube.
Well, I'm glad someone's keeping. I'm glad someone's keeping count. So yeah, that's great.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I just keep banging them out. I just keep putting them out. I don't.
Another thing that I forgot to mention actually. Have you checked out Absolute Country yet?
No.
I know you're a big country music fan. There's a new radio station. It's just been set up by Absolute Radio, and it's called Absolute Country. I was listening to it this morning. It was really good. You should check it out.
I'm going to check that out, and I'm also not going to breeze over the fact of the way you say country. You really abbreviate the first 4 letters.
Country. How do you say country?
Country.
Country.
There's a lot of, I don't even want to say the word, but there's forceful in that first 4 letters.
Say country. I'm not having this. I'm not going to have my southern accent picked apart because I say country. It's how you pronounce it. How do you say it? Say it again.
Country.
So you say that
there's a big, like, yeah, you've got a big, I'm not going to say the first 4 letters because my partner she'll tell me off. But when you get to the T, there's a big to the T, and then
country. You sound like you should have a bit of straw in your mouth when you say it. Country.
The country.
It's country.
I feel like it's because we're not allowed to say the first 4 words on their own. I'm trying not to abbreviate the first 4 words. That forceful.
In a certain way where I'm saying words, I'm clearly not saying words. I'm not going to have it.
Say country.
Country.
There's a lot of.
I'm not having this.
Oh dear, sorry. Sorry. So I will check that radio station out. What is it? Is it? It's just called that. Oh, we don't do like 97.9 anymore, do we? It's just the name of a station.
No. I just asked Alexa to play it.
Oh, all right. You're so 2021.
Well, it came out in 2019, so someone can check that. I'm probably wrong. It's probably 2018.
Just threw a stat out there for no reason.
Threw a date.
Just threw a stat out.
Just threw a date out there. But yes, okay. Back to the original question.
Yeah, who are you?
What do I do?
Who are you?
Hi. You don't even go here.
Who are you?
My name's Rob, and I work in the cheer industry. Mostly, my primary role in the industry is that I work for a team called the Ascension Eagles. But on the side, I have my own business called Bear Drills or RH Cheer Clinics, and I mainly teach.
If you don't follow at Freezer Party, they're the podcasts that come up in between my coffee with Sam, with two of my mates, and we follow the UFC. It's banter. It's less serious than the Coffee with Sam podcast. There is a little bit of language, I'm sorry, but there is also Patreon episodes that get a little bit crazy. Go a little bit off the chain, off the hook, because they're behind a paywall. If you're not a patron, please follow, please subscribe, please help. www.patreon, with an E-O-N there, .com/Coffee with Sam. You get every single Coffee with Sam episode ad-free. You get every Freezer Party episode ad-free, and you also get Coffee with Sam special Patreon episodes, and you also get Freezer Party special Patreon episodes that only you or the patrons will get to see.
Tumble and gymnastics to cheer programs up and around the country, which I'm very blessed to do, and I'm very proud to do it. And it's a great way to kind of filter your way around the community. And then I also work with Britain's leading, and that is a statistic that you can take to the bank, I don't know, cheer development provider, I guess would be the best way to coin it. BGU, which is Building from the Ground Up. And Building from the Ground Up do loads of courses across the country that allow coaches to get qualified, deepen their knowledge, and just generally develop cheerleading from the bottom to the top. And I think being part of something like that is awesome. So yeah, it's a really good thing to be a part of, and it's a great industry to be a part of. There's a lot of stigma about cheerleading because girls cheerleading, boys cheerleading, and the whole kind of hoo-ha of stereotypes. But once you stop watching Glee, you kind of get a really good understanding of what cheerleading is and why it's so awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell, I think. Does that do it for your Coffee with Sam podcasters?
Boom. Yes. So just trying to do the background, because cheerleaders will know, because he's kind of a big name. Cheerleaders will know, but people who aren't won't know who he is. Like, who are you? But if you watch the first episode, which people go back and listen to or watch, then you'll find out a lot more about Rob. So you do, let's say you do education, you do teaching. How is the pandemic and what's gone on? So we started this podcast when we were all happy. We're only going to be in this for 3 months. It's not going to last very long. We're going to be fine. We're now a year and a half down the line, and we're just starting to make, I was going to say Queen then, like I was acting like I was cool, like, acting the bag again, yo, we're earning that bag again, that Queen. No, so we're earning that bag, and Rob's just looking at me like he's never seen that side of me ever in his life.
Yeah, don't suit you.
Flick my hood up like, so you're just earning money again. How has this pandemic affected you, and what have you done or haven't done to keep yourself on the right track mentally? And let's go mentally. Let's make this mentally. Like, what have you done to keep yourself on track or not on track?
So
bear it all.
I'm gonna lay my soul out to you, Sam.
Bear it all. Sorry, you didn't even laugh at my
That's
joke.
all right. So yeah, the first 6 months was pretty tough. So I can't even remember when we went into lockdown now. Was it around March, April time? March time. So the first 6 months probably was pretty tough. So, and I just mean of that whole, pandemic. Not, I know that we had breakups in between, but I had COVID to begin with, and then it took, I suppose, a lot of people use the term long-term COVID. So I kind of suffered for a long time after having COVID. But it took me a long time to get my head around it. And I suppose when your identity is so caught up in something or so a part of something, and then that something is taken away, it's really difficult to kind of place yourself. So my whole identity is working, or a large proportion of my identity is working with young people. And I've done that since I was 16. I was a coach when I was 16, 17.
This episode is sponsored by Wax and Relax. www.waxandrelax.co.uk, guys. They make homemade wax melts, and they go in your house, probably in your garden when we've got summer, you can put them outside. They melt. I don't know if you've seen them. You put a flame underneath them, you melt, and they come out with the flavors, whatever they've infused the wax with. Now, they are handmade, guys. Now, in this time, we need to support local businesses, not even local, small businesses. They're from Bournemouth. They feel the waves, they feel the sea, they feel the sand from Bournemouth. They know what a good smell smells like. So get at them, www.waxandrelax.co.uk for all your good smelling wax melts.
Then I became a school teacher, did that till, I was nearly 30, and then I got to work in the cheer industry full time. So my whole identity is working with people and, helping them to work towards whatever goals they might have. So when that was taken away, it was a little bit of a shock to the system, because when you strip it back, you start thinking about, well, who are you then if you don't have this? And that was a bit of a shock to the system, actually, because, it made me question, and I wasn't sure at times,
I think it's going to put a halt to that there. That's done that with a lot of people. A lot of people. Right, when I got forced into doing my bridge job, I was then like, well, actually, is what I was doing good? Is what I was doing before paying the bills? Is what I was doing seen as a normal life and a normal job? Should I stay in this normal job? Because this is classed as a normal job. Should I stay here? Like, I started to panic that I was changing my mind on, actually, maybe I shouldn't be living my life that way. Maybe it's not sustainable, or maybe I should not go back to it, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So I was there as well, dude.
And I think that's the thing about this as well, because, lots of people have questioned what they were doing in their day-to-day lives, and mental health statistics, for argument's sake, are massively increased right now. So it doesn't take much researching or much Googling, if that's what you use, to read statistics that are quite shocking in terms of the rise of, mental health issues or mental well-being. But then, when I suppose the saying is, when one door closes, another one opens, right? And you find different things, or you get to enjoy things you already had, but even in a more sort of magnified way. So it was hard being at home, and it was hard not doing what I love doing. But then by the same token, I was at home spending time with my family, spending time with my son, doing more things with my son because I'm not, physically at work. And, that was really special to be able to have. And it doesn't take much perusing through Instagram or social media to see how many people have left the jobs that they're doing and have started up their own businesses. And, that's quite special as well. So the pandemic has been awful. It's been atrocious. But if you fixate on that, that's all it will ever be. Everyone has experienced loss at this point because of the pandemic. You're never going to get forced and told to stay at home ever again. No. Like you say, valuing that time with your family because you had to be there. One, it makes you reevaluate, well, should I be at home more often? Like, should it take the government and the world shutting down for me to see my kids more or see my wife more? Like, yeah, and damn straight you got married since the last podcast. Congratulations, brother. I literally just realised. Yes, you did. So, like, it was nice to, ring on that finger. Now the whip and the noose is even tighter. She put a ring on it, mate.
For you to realise that, and I hope that a lot more people have done that, where they've gone, you know what, actually, I'm going to stop working myself to the bone, mate. I need to be at home. And I hope that's the way people have gone with it.
I don't think business will ever be the same again, because, I mean, working from home, I love working from home. I enjoy working from home. On Fridays now, I work from home for AEC because I don't coach. So I do my office work from home. And that works really well for me, because it means I get to do the work. If anything, for AEC, it means they get an extra couple of hours because I'm not traveling to work. And, you know, it works for everyone. But more businesses are going to end up using this model. Their employees are happier because they're at home. That's the first thing. A happy employee will go beyond. That's basic business principle, right? But then also, if you have got an empty office, you make the office smaller because you don't need that many people. That's less outlay for businesses, you know? So, you know, there's a whole infrastructure that could be reborn that might actually benefit the worker for once, you know?
It is scary though, because I feel like the one thing I'm enjoying, we're going to talk about coming out of this in a minute, but the main thing I'm enjoying is human interaction again. And that's the only thing that scares me with working from home, that you can shop from home, you can work from home. You're never going to have to leave to go anywhere. And then you're not socially interacting with other people, different religions, different opinions, you're just acting on this camera-like thing that we're going to do. This episode is sponsored by Wax and Relax. www.waxandrelax.co.uk, guys. And it's not the same, because like I see it now, we're not the same on this camera as we are if we got together or if you were in the studio. And that's what scares me, with people will become fake versions of themselves because we're not having all this proper, because this is not interaction, this is not real. Even though it's happening now, it's not real, and you don't get the feelings from it, and you don't get the same reactions. And like I say, if you weren't being recorded, you'd have a completely different opinion and loads more to say about whatever I ask you. Do you know what I mean?
That's called, that nerd alert, that's called observer's paradox. So when you know that, so for example, for argument's sake, say I'm coaching a class, right? And then I'm teaching my senior 2 team, Majesty, my Queens. We have a great relationship, we have a great rapport, and we work very hard to get the job done, right? As soon as Angela comes down the stairs, different coach. I coach differently. I say things differently. My lisp comes out because I get nervous because Angela is the queen bee. It happened to me when I was a teacher. I used to teach, and I used to have an open door policy. But my now wife was my boss. If she came in the room, I'd be like, couldn't remember what the characters' names in Macbeth were. Like, it was ridiculous. So observer's paradox is a real thing. And so that's the type of thing that's going to happen in situations like this. We'll be talking quite freely, but the true scope of a relationship is never going to be like, this is why you can't trust things like Keeping Up with the Kardashians or what's the other one? I don't watch reality TV.
All of them. Anyways, they're six.
I don't know what they're called.
All that stuff. But Joe Rogan has a good point, man. Yeah, he says, what if, so I'm gonna like probably blow your mind all over the place now. So our vision of aliens, yeah, they're just skinny people with big heads. Now, have they got big heads because they're so skinny? So the things that we see as aliens now, is that just us in the future? Because if we're not going out to the gym, if we're not going shopping, if we're not going to work, we don't need this muscle mass that we think we need. So we're going to sit at home. Our bodies will slowly just degrade. So we'll end very, very skinny. So our heads will be big because of our skull, which is naturally not going to get any smaller. So we end up with this frame of big head, skinny body. And then what? Elon Musk's already talking about this computer chip where we can just talk to each other by looking at each other. So 10, 15 years down the line, some people will start doing that. So have we already seen ourselves in the future with what we think are aliens? They're not even there. Like, it's not even real. But that's what we're going to end up as because of the way the world's going and future's going. Because we're not going to have to leave the house.
But surely if everything's done for us, right? I literally know nothing about science, right? But surely if everything's done for us to the point where we hardly even have to think anymore, surely the use of the brain would become less so that it would get smaller.
But your skull, your cranium won't though, will it?
Well, we're talking in terms of, you're talking about muscle sort of becoming less, but over time, that wouldn't everything just become less? We'd have less need for our brains. We'd become like dinosaurs. Everything would be really big and stompy. But
we're still going to be
like the smallest brains ever.
We'll still be clever. We'll still be clever because we'll still be communicating. People will still be building and creating stuff, but there'll be no need to talk. I'll be able to look at you and you'll go, okay, I get it. Yeah, and have conversations.
There's a film that's come out about that, you know,
mate. There's films about everything in the future, and that's what.
But this film has got
me.
Daisy Ridley. This film has got Daisy Ridley in it, and I think it's Tom Holland. And basically, Daisy Ridley's character can hear everything that Tom Holland is thinking. It's like a dystopian film, sci-fi film, where like the world has fallen, and I think there's only like a population of men, or there's only a population of women. I'm not sure which way around it is. I have to be honest, it's not really my type of film. I do like dystopian, but it's not really my type of film. But I'm a big fan of Daisy Ridley because of Star Wars. So I would probably like indulge myself because of Daisy Ridley. But it's an interesting concept because if we can hear each other, is that a good thing as well? Like, do I have to like, I don't know, like...
It's not a good thing. Whatever we do, we think it's always good for us, but is it? Like, we think everything we're doing is good, but is it good? Like, is it good? You
can just look at industry for that.
We keep creating more wealth, and we're still having all these stupid wars and these fallouts. So wealth is doing nothing for anybody in any country because we're still falling out. People are still horrible. Humans are still nasty. Wealth is doing nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I'm not really sure how accurate I am on this, but you say creating wealth.
Don't be accurate. Just say what you think.
But surely if we are creating wealth, then we're only really creating wealth in the West, because otherwise the world would be...
Yeah, we don't spread it. We don't spread it anywhere.
Yeah, the wealth isn't going anywhere.
No, it doesn't. I'd say that though. I think there are less... For me, I've come from a poor background and I am now not poor. And that's because of the way the world works. If I think back to when I was a kid, I could never do the job I'm doing now, earning the money I'm doing. I'd have to be stuck being a mechanic still, earning half the amount of money. So, like, the way the world...
You're talking about one... But the UK is one of the world's richest economies, though, isn't it? So, although by your definition, you were poor growing up, right? And by the same respect, I would say the same, right? I didn't have a affluent upbringing. There wasn't money on the table. My dad was paying child support to my sisters growing up, and so that burden was felt within our household for quite a long time until that those payments weren't paid anymore. But we were still living in one of the world's richest economies. And don't get me wrong, homelessness and poverty is huge in Britain right now. And when we were growing up in the 90s, we were just falling out from 80s Britain under Thatcher. So poverty was rife in the 90s as much as it is rife now. I'm not making a political statement there, but maybe slightly. The poverty that you were experiencing, or I say poverty, that's probably not fair. The upbringing that you were experiencing is probably nowhere near as comparable.
Yeah. If I say poor, that's strong. That's a strong. I was probably affluent. I still had a lot of money. Compared to what is actually poor. You know what I mean? Like in other countries. Yeah, I get that. I'm very, very lucky to live in the country I live in. But I do feel that there's not the fact that someone could be classed as, say, poor to, let's just take it on the UK, could be classed as poor in the UK, but as long as they've got £50 a month to pay for an iPhone, they could create a business that's going to earn them millions.
And if they've got £50 or £60 a month to spend on a phone.
They're not poor. Then yeah, we can, but as in the UK,
I know it's tit for tat.
We'd say they're not poor as in on the street, but you even see people that are homeless these days that have mobiles, which is obviously another story on itself. But like, you can make money out of having nothing these days. Do you know what I mean? You don't need premises, you don't need laptops, you don't need this, you don't need that. You need a phone to make millions. And I feel...
I agree with you. I run my business pretty much from my phone. I have an iPad that I'm talking to you on now that I have because of my business. Yeah. Like, I would not have this iPad if I did not have the business, because I wouldn't need it, or I wouldn't feel like I needed it. And if I'm being completely honest, I probably don't need it, but I felt like it that day. Do you know what I mean?
It's hard not to get stuck into that, because like the podcasts, we can just do them like this now, and it's ended up because I'm trying to get guests in, and I'm having to turn guests down because they're saying, can't we just do it over Zoom? I'm like, well, no, I want you in the studio. I want to have interaction with you. I want to feel what we're talking about. And they're like, well, I can't shed that extra 2 hours to travel to you and back. So no. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to get sucked into that, but slowly I've got a studio, I've got lights, I've got cameras, I've got everything to be able to do it remotely. And it's like, I'm falling into that category of staying away from people because I can earn money from just being here on my own. But I hate it. I'm someone who needs to hug people. I need to feel people. I need the emotion. But in this industry, or in this time, it's so hard not to just drop into that category easy.
Yeah, you're right. I think hopefully, because I feel like we went off on a way tangent there, but like,
it's beautiful.
To come back to what you were originally talking about, literally about going out, I think in a way, it might bring a different value to what we do. So, going to meet people for, if that's what you like to do, going to meet people at the pub, or going to, I don't know, a zoo or a country walk, or for a picnic or for a meal. Those are things that we so took for granted that we wouldn't even have considered it in the way that we're seeing people or we're interacting people, because they were a given and a standard of our daily lives. Yeah. But, walking around Sainsbury's is essentially the same thing, but we don't class it like that.
Oh, mate, I went and sat at the pub on my own the other day. Just had literally one beer, but just to feel that I can't do any work because I'm here. I don't have my laptop. My work email is not connected to my phone, and I refuse to. So I could just sat there. I only had to say one beer. The fire was on. There was just people saying hello to random people walking in, and it felt great. It felt amazing. Just to have that. Because you sat at home, you have a beer or you have your friends around. Well, I'm at home. I could do a bit of work. And my laptop's there. 2 seconds. I'll talk to you, but I'll just do a bit of work. And I'll just I'll start to edit this. Or you're spending time with your missus and you're like, well, I'm sat here. We're just watching a movie. I could be spending this time editing something or doing a work email. And it's so hard to get away from. Whereas when you go out, you're away from it. There's no laptop. There's no work. You have to spend time with people and you have to communicate. And it felt great. Like, I was a bit anxiety, like thinking the laptop's in the van. I could go and get it. I'm like stuck in that way of like, no, just sit here, have this one beer, go home, and then you can carry on working if you need to.
I have to be honest. I fully considered getting myself a second phone and leaving my phone, the one that does everything, and just leaving it at home when it was like Fridays, weekdays after 5 or 6 and weekends. But then I just thought, like, part of me was just kind of like, we just take back control. And I'm not suggesting that people can't do that or whatever, because there's always twos and throws of everything. But, it just became a point of, all right, I can see that WhatsApp message. I'll answer it tomorrow. Like, you've texted me at 7 o'clock or you've emailed me at 7. Do I want the work? Yes. But then I started to try and flip the mindset a little bit, in the sense that if you've messaged me, then out of anyone else, it's me you've decided you wanted to message. So, waiting until 9 o'clock the following morning becomes less of a wait, because you kind of you change your mindset a little bit, and you're not kind of like grabbing at straws like, I want the work. Of course you want the work, but at the same time they've messaged you as well, so it's you they would like to work with. So I've just tried to be.
Yeah, I had that last night. I had a message from someone said, I've had some ideas for stuff. I was like, cool, send them through, but I'm not going to listen to it. It was an audio message. I'm not going to listen to it till tomorrow because I'm not working now. And they apologised. And I was like, no, I'm not literally not saying like that. I'm just telling you, you're not going to get a reply till tomorrow because I'm not working now. I'm done.
Yeah. I think it was just a case of I put my big boy trousers on and I was like, okay, right, I need to start managing better. I work a lot anyway, which means the time I get at home with my family gets diminished. So just manage better. So, and that's just kind of something that actually during lockdown, I've tried to become a lot better at, especially now coming out of lockdown. I'm getting booked up again because I've had to rebook the ones that have been cancelled. You know, it's a case of the management needs to be better.
I'm having to get back used to that because obviously I went from self-employed for 9 years doing that to a year, just shy of a year of working for someone and not having to manage nothing, just turning up, go home. So I'm now back into that system of, because now that the new company I'm now part of, a lot of it is at home, a lot of it's at home work, and then the weekends going out to work. But I'm having to get back to that. Get up in the morning, have a shower, do your daily routine, start work, check emails, turn it off at a certain time, and stop all that. But I feel like I'm so much more grown up after this pandemic than I was when I went into it. Yeah. Like crazy. Yeah, I know some mad shit's gone on, like I've bought a house and all that stuff, and I went through a big mental breakdown of it taking my business, and it really affected me, and I was not in a good place because I was so business proud that me going and getting a job to be able to carry on buying the house I was being weak. And why was I not adapted and creating my business to bring in the same amount of money and this, that, the other? And it got to me. And because I'm such a proud person, it was like I was failing myself I was failing younger Sam, who said he's going to be self-employed. I'm never going to work for someone again after my first job, to build a business to where it was, earning the money I was earning, to then have to go and get a job. I had a big breakdown. And to realize that and then come through that and go back into where I didn't think, and this ties up with what I said at the beginning about during the lockdown, thinking, should I stay here? Should I just work for somebody? Should I be part of the system? Because is this what should be normal? And even I was falling into that, and then I had to slap myself out of it and be like, no. And I'm lucky, I'm not saying I'm lucky because I've put myself in the position to be offered the job I've been offered. I'm not lucky. I've worked hard to be to get offered that job. Lucky that I've been offered it, but my life that's the way it was going. So I'm not lucky. Lucky's not a thing. You put yourself in a position to get the right things. Lucky's not a thing. And
I think I got it. Lucky's not a thing. I got it.
This is not for you, mate. This is for the listeners. But to slap myself back out of that, and then now to get back into it, I've only been working for them 2 weeks, and I'm still thinking to myself sometimes, like, is this the right thing? Because I got stuck in that horrible mental state twice, 2 different mental states during lockdown. And that was another tangent. I love tangents. What podcast's about? That's why there's there's a few questions on the board, and that's about it. It's the things you're not going to talk about are the best things you talk about. So talking like mentality, how have you managed coming out of this? Because I know you had a rough time during it, and you can come on this and you always, what I talk about, I'm getting better now at making people talk to me about the real things, but you get that, I know you do, as soon as you get on a podcast or being recorded, you stiffen up and you're worrying about what you're saying and you start talking like this and da-da-da-da. But I know you've had a rough time of it, so you say what you've got to say. I know you've had a really rough time during it. How are you managing coming out of this? Apart from being excited, you've got your business back. What's your brain saying?
So, I mean, so people deal with their sort of mental anxieties or insecurities in different ways, right? So some people sleep a lot. Some people don't sleep. Some people eat a lot. Some people don't eat. Some people become angry. Some people become withdrawn. Like, everyone deals with those things in different ways. And for the most part, they're all toxic, because they will in some way affect the way you feel about yourself or the relationships you have with other people. People who were everything to you become less, like, you don't want them near you. And I'm speaking broadly here. This isn't anything specific. But for me, my biggest drawback when I'm struggling mentally, or I have sort of mental anxiety, or my well-being is affected, is that I put on a lot of weight, substantial amounts of weight. And I'm talking, like, within a week, we could talk pounds and pounds up to stones. It can be a really drastic change physically for me. And so, you know, we had that, the bear versus the puzzle challenge that we did, that was pretty cool, and was really helpful. It helped the mindset, it helped, you know, the way, you know, my physical shape and everything like that. And that worked to an extent, and then it didn't work anymore. And not because it wasn't a good product, but because I wasn't in the right state for it. And so the weight came back on. And so that was really hard, because it's frustrating. Because you when you're in that kind of position, you're just kind of like, oh, I can't be bothered. I'll just carry on doing what I'm doing because it's easy. And easy is always the first choice you make. You know, when you've just finished work and it's 8 o'clock, you're at the petrol station. It's easy to buy a Dr. Pepper and, I don't know, a dairy milk. It's easy to do those things. It's not easy to pick up a bottle of water and an oat bar. So for me, it was about really trying to challenge that mindset and work harder and better, and just think, just make wiser choices. So part of the thing is that I teach tumble, right? And when people buy your product, they buy you. And I'm not cynical enough to say that the way that you look is everything, but first appearances count, right? And if you look at my sort of market group, and there's enough for everyone to get work, right? But if you look at my market group, there are some fantastic tumble coaches in the industry who deliver a great product, look great, have charisma, and get the job done, right? So that kind of thing was playing in my mind as well. You've got people like Max Hatcher and Tumble, Next Level Cheer, CC Tumbles, Big G, all fantastic at what they do, but all look great too. And so that was playing on my mind. And for a while, that made it worse. But then I just kind of like had to kind of really start setting myself goals and thinking about, okay, so what am I going to do to get myself into a better state of mind?
Right. I've been coached. When I was a national trampolinist, I was coached by a coach. Not my head coach. We went to another gym, and I was coached by a coach who was that big he couldn't get off his chair. But damn straight he knew how to get me to do a half out or a double nicely. Yeah. He didn't move off his chair. He was that big. But would just shout his orders from his chair. And he was amazing. You were like, I had the same, like, what? You ain't going to teach me nothing. And then I'll come out of there 10 times better trampoline than I was.
But you're right. And some people may have thought that, and most people probably did not when they looked at me, right? But when your mindset tells you that, that's all your mindset tells you.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you anything different. So for me, it was about trying to think about how can I pick myself up. And it wasn't just because of that, you know, like, I'm in my mid-30s now. As you get older, it gets harder. My son is 7-8. He's going to be turning 8 soon. We're looking to adopt again. Like, all those things are making me think, like, I want to be active. I want to be able to feel like I can be active. I don't want to be tired after running around for 10 minutes. I want to be able to run around for 2 hours. You know, so there was a lot of, it wasn't just a work decision. It was, you know, it was a genuine kind of like, I need to do better. And so I remember I started the Couch to 5K app, right? I prefer my exercise of choice is running. I love running. And to the point where I've done lots of Tough Mudders. I used to go to park run every week. I've run a half marathon, which was like an Everest for me at the time a few years back. And so I don't like going to the gym. It's not something I like doing. But if you get me on a road or in a forest, I'm here for it. So I started running again, and it's taken me a long time to get into running again from 2017, where it sort of fell off a little bit. And I remember hitting.
If you don't follow at Freezer Party, they're the podcasts that come up in between my coffee with Sam, with two of my mates, and we follow the UFC. It's banter. It's less serious than the Coffee with Sam podcast. There is a little bit of language, I'm sorry, but there is also Patreon episodes that get a little bit crazy. Go a little bit off the chain, off the hook, because they're behind a paywall. If you're not a patron, please follow, please subscribe, please help. www.patreon, with an E-O-N there, .com/coffee with Sam. You get every single Coffee with Sam episode ad-free. You get every Freezer Party episode ad-free, and you also get Coffee with Sam special Patreon episodes, and you also get Freezer Party special Patreon episodes that only you, or the patrons, will get to see.
Hitting the road for the first time, and the long-term COVID was an absolute shock to the system. Like, as in, I couldn't get to the end of the road, and it was shocking. It was so hard, and it took me like a real couple of weeks to even be able to sort of run sustainably without, like, I ran out an asthma pump, like a blue asthma pump. It was so bad, and that wasn't all weight. That was just trying to get my lungs into some sort of working capacity again. So, the long-term effects of COVID are real, and I will vouch for them until the cows come home, So that was a real important part of the journey, trying to get past that first hurdle. And, I had to really kind of fight my mindset that just wanted to stop all the time. Alongside that, I'm a avid reader. I read a lot. When I read too much, that's a warning sign. But I tried to change from reading fiction to non-fiction, and I read a book called Touching the Void. Some of you might have heard of it before, or watched the film, or even studied it at GCSE, if you did it for school. But it's about a guy who's a mountain climber. He climbs up a mountain, he falls down the mountain, he breaks his leg and has to crawl down to like 2,000 feet worth of mountain to be able to, not die. And he did it. And I just remember thinking, like, what a story. Like, this story is incredible. This guy broke his foot so bad that his shin was in his knee, his ankle was in his shin, and he was crawling down the mountain with a broken leg. And I was just kind of like, I need to read more stuff like this, because it's helping me sort of like picture this kind of like, everyone has their own obstacles, and everyone's obstacles are different. And I need that to kind of like motivate me.
Makes you feel weak as fuck.
Well, it was so impressive. Honestly, it was so impressive. There is a film documentary about it, and apparently this film documentary...
Yeah, there's one as well where he gets his arm stuck, doesn't he?
127 hours. That's on my reading
I
list.
love that movie too.
I've watched the movie.
Yeah.
I did not realise it was James Franco, but it's James Franco.
And the actual
movie.
The dude who it's about is at the end of the movie, isn't he?
That's right.
Yeah, I love it.
That's right.
I love stuff that's real.
Yeah,
I like stuff like that. And so
that's what I've transitioned to. And so reading that has been a lot more kind of inspiring and motivating, and has helped me keep up the running. So I've been reading more stuff like that, actually. And I picked up a book. I picked up a book called Born to Run. And it's about this kind of tribe of runners that the world has never seen, called the Tarahumara. Don't quote me on that, but that's, I think, how you say it. They're called the Tarahumara, and these guys can literally run 200 miles without stopping. And I'm reading their story, and it is so impressive. They're kind of like, they live in like, where do they live? They live in Mexico, in the, deep in the forest there, or and they build huts. They build their huts into the side of mountains. You could walk past a house, you would never see them, but they are the world's best runners. They are literally the world's most incredible runners. They run their marathons through the forests, through the mountains, through the hills, up, down, up, down. They are incredible. And I'm reading this book. I'm about 100 pages in. And you look at it and you think, right, well, if they can do that, I can improve. I can get there. I can become a better runner. And the running for me it helps with the mindset, it helps with the weight loss and all those kind of things. But it's the challenge of thinking like, I want to get to a half marathon again. Like I want to run a half marathon again. So, the non-fiction stuff, reading non-fiction has been really good, and I would recommend it. Like, there's some great stuff out there.
Would you say you use reading as like meditation?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm one of those people who have read all their lives. I didn't stop reading. It wasn't a school thing for me. It wasn't something that a lot of people just associate reading books for argument's sake with school. Not for me. I'm an avid reader.
I have to use it as meditation because I have to force myself to do it because you've met me. My brain thinks, well, you're sat down now. Why are you sat down? You can't do anything. So I have to like really force myself to read something, and I have to get into it to then, because you're going to get 30, 40 minutes. I'm probably not going to remember what I've read, and I'm going to be like, that. Whoa, I need to move. I can't be sitting there any longer. So it kind of is like meditation. Like I don't learn from books. I can't learn from books because I don't remember what I've read. I have to listen, which is why I do what I do. That's why I don't blog or anything like that. That's why I do this.
You're an audio learner, aren't you? Some people are audio learners, some people are visual learners, and some people are kinesthetic learners. I can be in a room of people. There could be TV on, there could be music on, there could be people talking, there could be people playing games. And I could not tell you what had happened in that room. There could have been a murder, right, in that room. And if I've been reading, I would not be able to tell you who did it. I just would not know.
Not a chance. I'd know someone would walk straight in, like, what are you doing?
No, I'm literally not in the room. I might as well not be there. I'm a quite.
That's good though. That's good though, because like you said, that's like meditation.
Well, not for the murderer. Not for the
person gets murdered. Yeah, but like it's like meditation, because that's what you have to do in meditation. You have to just. People say, oh, well, when I do meditation, all I'm doing is thinking. And it's like, yeah, that's what you're meant to be doing, because you're actually thinking about stuff you wouldn't be thinking about if you weren't doing meditation. Like,
but that's why it's a warning sign for me as well. If I'm reading too much, that's a trigger.
You got something going on.
Yeah, it just means that my mental well-being is not great, and that's a trigger. And my family are really good at picking it up. They're like, okay, let's have a chat, or let's go out, or whatever it is. Pardon? Smack me with a book. It's not just like one day. This could be like, I could be like reading for 4 or 5 hours a day for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks. And they'll be like,
And are you known to struggle with mental, not well-being, but.
Yeah, no, I had I suppose it came to a head probably 2018, 2019, where it was pretty rough. And so you kind of, it got to a point where it was kind of like, okay, I need to sort this out a little bit more, because it's becoming toxic. But I suppose you have to, you make the channels that you do, or you seek the advice that you do, because it wasn't like an isolated thing for me anymore. Like, it was affecting the outer circles of my relationships. So it was something that I needed to address. And so I did cognitive behavior therapy, and did like coping mechanisms and things like that. And that was really helpful. And then those are the types of things that then you transfer and you use after that. And so that's been my kind of my go-to.
And was that triggered from work, or because I know, being a teacher, you were a teacher previously, and I know a few teachers I've spoken to. Fucking Jesus Christ! And sorry, I keep swearing because I know I'm on loudspeaker, and I know you've got kids.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's teachers in the past that it's not if you love your job, it's fine, but sometimes it can be a toxic and horrible environment to be in. Or was that situation you had in 2017, 2018, was that from your upbringing? Was it a build-up of your years of life, or was it work? Or
I would say so. Teaching was definitely a factor, which is why when the opportunity to leave teaching and go into the cheer industry full time was a really good one, and one that I took. But I think it's just, you know, sort of decades of lack of self-worth, really. So just anything.
Just lack of we call it confidence, but just a lack of
self-worth. I think I wouldn't even call it confidence, because I was quite a confident person. A lot of people would probably be surprised, to be honest. Yeah, well, it's just an act. It's a performance. I'm a good performer. So, you know, a lot of people were surprised when I spoke about it to them. But that's because you act, you play a part, and then you come home and then you feel like crap. So I think it's just yeah. You look at other people's lives and you compare. You look at success. It's the same stuff that most people would say, but you know, that eventually becomes a big trigger. And then if you're not happy in your workspace where you're spending 9 hours a day, and when you're a teacher, it ain't 9 hours a day, you know, those things become exemplified, don't they? So yeah, it was a tough time. And so,
but you had that what you were saying at the beginning about taking control, you noticing that's a very, does that take a selfless person? Is that the right word? Yes, a selfless person to realise your behaviour was affecting the outside, and that's where you need to change. Is that the right word? Selfless? Yeah, to say that.
I'll take it.
Whilst you felt like you didn't feel good, but you just carried on with those behaviours. But then you realised it was affecting the outside and your relationships with people outside. Then you realised you had to change. Is that a selfless person?
Because, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it was a selfless. I wouldn't say it was so much a selfless act. I think it was a necessary one, because otherwise, I think I probably would have. Well, it wouldn't have been a good turnout for. I think I don't. It just wasn't. It wasn't good for the family. So by default, I'm quite a selfish person. I like my comforts. I like doing things that I like doing. Right, like most people. Right. So it was about just. I needed to make changes, and so you make those changes because you want to be able to enjoy what you have and not feel like crap all the time.
I would massively disagree there, because I'm an actor. When I'm upset, you don't know unless you've really upset me. If I'm sad and I need to light up a room full of people, I'll still light that room full of people up. And I wouldn't see that as selfish. That's you still wanting to put a smile on other people's faces, even though you aren't happy. And I'm there now. I'm still there now. Like, I hide it because I'm that joker. I'm that, oh, Sam's here, we're all going to have a laugh now. I'm Sam. Like, Sam's here. Something funny is going to happen because Sam's here. And I have to play up to that because that's me. That's been my life as a kid. But now you have the pressures of, you were never sad as a kid, so it was fine to just be an idiot all the time, where now you have life pressures on you, and I have to hide from that, and that gets on top of me sometimes. So that's not selfish. It's not selfish.
But that's the performance side, isn't it?
Yeah, you're not a selfish person at all.
But that's the side. Well, for me then, that was the side I was projecting. But then when you weren't out, or when you were just at home, or when you were, you're just in kind of like your normal environment, it was just kind of like withdrawal.
Yeah.
So you had projection, and then you had withdrawal, and they were kind of like the two kind of scopes of my personality. And the projection was nonsense, and it used to really frustrate my family, because it would be like, "Wow, well, this is not real, is it?"
Yeah. Why are you hiding away at home, but then when you go in front of people, you're acting all nicey? That's what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was a big problem. And so when I started doing the cognitive behavior therapy, that was great. It took some time, but you kind of work it out, and you learn different kind of mechanisms that you can cope with. And then gradually for me, it was a gradual kind of like a pressure that comes off your shoulders, and you can feel it. You wake up feeling a little bit better. You wake up feeling a little bit less tired, or you wake up feeling more positive. You don't feel like you need to drink as many coffees that day, so
never going to happen.
I think I'm on number 4.
Yeah, snap. And a monster.
Oh really? No, I don't do energy drinks. No chance.
So that for you, dude, because 2017 was not that long ago at all.
Yeah.
Like in the grand scheme of things. So for you to get through, well, I've only really got to really know you the last year during lockdown. Like we became friends like 6 months before lockdown happened, and then we became real good friends during it. So what I know of you now is the fact that what you've just explained, and what you've just bared to us all, that you've got through. Like 2017 is pretty close still. So you say that you're okay. You're still managing that problem. For you to come out the back of lockdown in a bloody good position is incredible. Damn incredible, because 2017 is only a year in between 2019. 2019 was very close to 2020, and that's when it all went tits up for the world. For you to have not displayed any of those tactics, and I know you have some of them, but you've then fought them, you could have easily slipped back into 2017.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And for you to come out the back of that to this year, a better person, a stronger person, a better individual of yourself is incredible. Is damn straight incredible to have got through it. Like, to not have slipped backwards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's quite sad because you know for other people that wouldn't have been the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing how low you personally have felt and how that made you feel, it's sad to think that other people have, for so many people, and the statistics speak for themselves, have kind of fallen into that. Well, I don't want to say fallen, that's the wrong word, but have kind of found themselves in that situation again where they're unhappy or they have low mood. And it's horrible to think that people are finding themselves there. And, you know, like anyone else, I was desperate for that not to be the case for me. And so when I could see myself, particularly at the beginning of 2021, like between, I think, Christmas 2020 and like the end of January 2021, I'd read like 10 books. And I know that might sound like a really silly thing to say, but when you know that's your trigger, reading 10 books that quickly back to back, you know, that's like, I don't know, what's that? An average of, let's say, 300-400 pages in a book. That's 4,000 pages. What's that? 300-400 pages every other day? I don't know. But like, that's a lot of isolation.
Yeah.
When you're still in lockdown, isn't it? So when that started happening, I was like, okay, yeah, this needs to be something that I work harder on. And so I started making changes and started trying to exercise more. Wasn't successful, but tried again. Changed my diet. That was a big change. I wouldn't say that's necessarily had an impact on my mental well-being, but I feel better for it. So that's been pretty positive as well. But yeah, it's not been an easy ride.
Good. Yeah, but you're not 2017, dude. And that's the one
That's
thing
right.
you got to take out of that. That's, like you say, like, you could have slipped back. I constantly messaged the dude James I had on here who bared all about his mental wealth and the fact that he had really bad thoughts of himself, but now decided to create a business that now explained that and helped other people. He's launched that business during lockdown and it's successful. And how easy for him could have easily just gone straight backwards to drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and not knowing how his self-worth for himself. Easily. And every day he did a walk at the weekend. I'm like, congratulations, bro. He put his first mind talk on about mindset. I'm like, congratulations, dude, because just talking to him on a podcast, he's not a confident person. To stand in front of 10 people, I knew full well he was shitting himself. I just knew. I hadn't even spoke to him, and I knew because of the way he was at the podcast. But for him to have gone through that, to have not slipped back, forget about everything else, that's a win on itself. Like, for you not to end up back in 2017 is a win. That's one big win that you've already had in 2021. to have not gone backwards, and that's incredible. That was a deep 30 minutes, and that was incredible. Thank you so much, Rob.
No worries.
For coming on. That was probably the best one.
Went off on a tangent.
This is
not a tangent I expected to kind of.
This is our third one, and I'm getting good at this now. That's why. So, on other podcasts, it was stiff. I wasn't stiff. It was hard to drag out of you because I say you're one of these people who you try and not give me everything. And
I'm a very private person,
and I'm getting good at it now. So I ask the right questions, and I'm getting good at this interviewing stuff. That was incredible. Like, that was one of probably the best hours I've had in here, man. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining me. Do you want to? If there are cheerleaders who follow Rob, what's your socials?
Bear Drills on Instagram. At Bear, I think it's an underscore, at Bear_drills with a Y. Check me out on there. Lots of drills to help you, or lots of sort of tumble circuits you can use to help develop as an athlete. So check me out there. And on Facebook and Twitter, I believe it is Coach Bear Drills. But on Twitter, I mostly just kind of troll the cheer forums when they say like negative things about the industry. So maybe not the place to check me out.
Awesome. Bringing shade upon yourself. More pressure. Thank you for joining us. I've been Coffee with Sam. Stay stimulated, stay weird. Till next time, guys.